live again on this wonderful world, the online streaming. Hi, everyone. Again, see you on this wonderful podcast. I'm always happy to see many people and to connect the community all together. So, yeah, and this weekend on Friday night, we have this wonderful workshop who's coming with the Swazzle team. So I bring it in the screen so you can have the picture of it. So it's Patrick and Sean who do this workshop on our Patreon members, and it's how to create quality puppet mouth palettes. So it will be really interesting about like building. And I even convert non-puppeteers to be part of the Patreon and just learn about how to make puppets. So yeah, it's really amazing to bring more popularity around this art that I cherish, but I think many people cherish that art, and we discover many other puppeteers and we connect. So that's my little start. So tonight I connect with another podcaster who talks about puppetry in his podcast. And it's really great. I'm really happy he accepted the invitation. So we will talk about podcasting, but about puppetry. Please welcome in the screen, Mr. Cameron Garrity.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
Yeah, so you are full equipped as a podcaster. You're ever more equipped than me. I'm just like with my little...
Well, you know what? I'm just doing this from home right now. Adam, who I do the show with, Adam Kreutinger, he's got the real setup, and we usually do it from his home workshop studio. But because of the virus, I've been here since March, and this is where we've been doing our shows remotely. But everyone's doing it. So
yeah, we make it work. That's the purpose.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And I just want to say for the people who are watching, if you want to write down in below the live, where are you from, where are you watching this? It's always fun for Cameron and me to watch the audience where they are. And also if you have any question during the interview and you want to bring it into the interview, feel free to just shout it out and we will do it and handle that. Yeah, awesome. So Cameron, could you introduce, I always like to have like a proper introduction for like you. So could you maybe like bring to us your start into puppetry and how this passion, how it is for you?
Sure. Well, I should probably say that I'm not a full-time puppeteer, but I am a full-time puppeteer in my heart. I am a graphic designer by day, which is something that I actually love. I love doing graphic design for puppetry when I can, and doing things to help support puppeteers and the Puppeteers of America and all those wonderful things. But as a puppeteer, I co-host, I should say, the Puppeteers podcast, which is a show that we put out every other week, and it's similar to this. It's long form interviews with the world's most passionate puppeteers, and we've been doing that for just over 2 years now. Adam Kreutinger and we have a blast doing that, and I also try to do puppetry as teaching. I've worked at places like Bucks Rock Summer Camp. I've done a lot of artist in residence type things for Damon College and the Albright Knox Art Gallery, and there's some cool things coming up at the current place that I'm a graphic designer at, that there might be some puppetry work coming into the fold this next semester. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's cool, and that's true. Like to combine like art is always part of it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we have a question right there, and this.
Oh boy.
Hello, puppeteers. It's Adam.
Oh dear Lord.
Who's watching? So Who is Cameron's favorite Muppet? It's ironical, maybe.
You know, the Big Bird is my guy. He has long been, it's since I was, you know, even talking, was the character that really kind of captured my interest in the art form. You know, Carol Spinney is probably my favorite of the Sesame Street or Muppet Show Muppet performers. And it also really ignited my love for full-bodied puppet costumes, because I love the illusion of a character that, you know, is able to just walk around and be a part of the world, and you don't see any monitors, you don't see any puppeteers attached to it. You know, they could just do these really wonderful things and just be this creature that, you know, exists with us. You know, it's a bit of a fantasy coexisting in our real world.
Yeah, that's such an amazing viewpoint. And you're not the first. Edna, yesterday night, just bring this admiration towards this puppeteers of like was doing Big Bird. So we need to search more about that. And yeah, for sure, discover more this amazing world of inner puppeteer.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Cameron, are you ready for the deep question of the Puppet Podcast?
Shoot.
Yeah. The first one is always the juicy one, is the why. Why do you cherish the art of puppetry?
Oh gosh. There's just so many reasons. You know, for like I just said, is for as long as I can remember, puppets have always been a part of my life. You know, on the shows that I watched as a kid, they were the toys that I had growing up. You know, half of my stuffed animals also had a place where you could, you know, get your hand in there and bring those dollies to life. You know, and as I've grown, you know, when I was in high school and in college, things like Avenue Q and Warhorse came out, and those just captured new facets of that. I got some really wonderful opportunities throughout college to study puppetry and to meet puppeteers through things like the National Puppetry Conference at the Eugene O'Neill Theater Center, and through the Puppeteers of America, and just also, you know, in Buffalo, I found where I live, Buffalo, New York, found you know, some great cohort of puppeteers, and it's like my family now. My second, it's Pam Marciero, who I know you've had on your show, always says that the puppetry community is your chosen family. And so it's this wonderful group of people, and you know, I love working with them. I love talking with them on things like puppeteers, and just even seeing what they're able to do, you know, when I follow them on Facebook or Instagram or, you know, any kind of social media.
Yeah, you're really a community guy. You really enjoy. That's true. The human behind the puppet, and it's really important.
Big time.
Yeah, I want to know, like, how, like, did your crush for puppetry happen? Do you have a specific moment you could recall?
No, I can't, only because there are so many moments, you know, and there's plenty of things I could point to. You know, my family had gotten me a documentary about the behind the scenes of all the Muppet shows and Muppet movies, and I was watching that much earlier than I think any should have, necessarily. You know, I remember there were all sorts of behind the scene things on the Disney Channel growing up, because they would show like how they made the Lion King play on Broadway, and how they were doing. I remember they showed when they were making Muppet Treasure Island, and they showed like the scale of all the mugs and stuff for the rats, and it was like, oh, that's so cool, because of, you know, a normal coffee mug is like this, and then you got the tiny little thing for Rizzo. It was so cool. But I think from a performance standpoint, I remember I had a Kermit the Frog puppet growing up, just a little toy thing that the Jim Henson Company sold, and I would take it to Christmas parties, and my older cousins, who were like my big brothers, I remember being able to ad lib with them, and they were just naturally very funny and smart people, and I knew that if I could make them laugh, that I was doing something right. Because they weren't just giving that up. That, you know, if they were laughing at something, it was because they thought it was funny. And I remember that kind of being the, you know, when comedians talk about that rush, that thing that they're constantly searching for, that was like, oh, okay, I understand why people do this. And you know, I probably wasn't even performing, I know I wasn't performing Kermit all that well. I wasn't even, you know, necessarily trying to do a Kermit voice or character at that point, but it was just, I've got this thing, I get to be hidden, you know, no one has to see Cam, but I
Yeah.
could say all these wild things that you know, 11 or 12-year-old wouldn't be able to say to their college cousin.
Yeah, so cool. And this answer bring a question right there. We have Bob, and it's great that you have like questions
Oh,
from the
Bob.
community. It's a good one. Like, eh, do you
Oh,
think
yeah.
puppetry has helped you in terms of podcasting in any way?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Adam and I would be doing this kind of show if we weren't puppeteers. I think that's our strength, is that we're people who are knowledgeable about it, both as people who are fans of the things that we're talking about, but we also have a knowledge and an understanding of what that kind of takes. And I kind of compare our show, and maybe you feel the same way, to like how Mark Maron's podcast, it's kind of started off as he was a comedian talking to comedians who were like way bigger than him. And I feel like a similar thing for us. We're these two aspiring puppeteers. We kind of have a very small foothold in that community, but we're talking to all these really, you know, big names and learning so much from them.
Yes, for real. It's really a learning, sharing process. I really admire what you do too.
Exactly. Yeah, right back
Yeah.
at you.
I want to know, like, in your opinion, what would be the best field of study to become a puppeteer?
Oh gosh. What's not a good field of study for puppetry, you know?
Yes.
I think that's something that I really love about it too, is that it's this all-inclusive art form, that you can be an excellent writer or an excellent illustrator or craftsperson or actor, and it's all these fields coming together. What I could say for me is that I when I was in college, I took an animation course, a couple animation courses, specifically storyboarding, um, and being able to, because so much of that art form is drawing these, you know, poses. You're not drawing like a real finished product, but you're showing this character and this frame is going to be posed like this and then like this, and you have to tell that story visually without any words or with very few words, and it gets you very critically thinking about you know, what that movement is saying.
Yeah.
And I think I've been able to take a lot of that into, you know, I do primarily Muppet style performing as a puppeteer. So to be able to think about like, oh, okay, this pose is going to signal this thing, I could mentally be thinking about that in my head and looking for it as I'm performing on a monitor and say, oh, okay, this is right. This is communicating the thing that I want to be saying through the doll.
That's so true, and yeah, that's real. Like to write storyboard, it's really linked to puppetry. That's kind of the first time I saw this connection.
Yeah, and that's something when Adam and I do commercials now or short films, we storyboard everything, because it's also a great opportunity if you make a storyboard animatic where you actually put those drawings into a short film. You know, it's not moving particularly, but it's kind of like a slideshow in real time. You could critique the final thing before you ever even filmed it. And what's great about that is then you say, okay, I know that's where the comedy beat needs to be. Oh, I think we need to add a scene, or we need to add a line, or change this thing, or move it around. And you spend a lot of time in that that R&D when and you figure all that out before you even commit anything to film.
Yes, yes, it's so cool. That's so great. I want to know also, like, your definition of a puppet, because every puppeteer seems to have his own definition. So what is yours?
Sure. I'm a bad mentee because Ronnie Burkett, who's a dear friend and mentor, has a really excellent definition of what a puppet is, and I should be using his, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. But I like to think of it as a vessel for a point of view. It's something where you have this totem that you can infuse with whatever thoughts and feelings and languages that you want to be putting out for your audience. And it's really wonderful when you have multiple characters, multiple puppets, that you can kind of put these different ideas into, and you have them converse with each other or converse with your audience, and you're able to show those little bits of yourself. So I think that's a really important thing that puppets can do.
Yeah, it's good, and it's true, because also what's Ronnie Burkett do, it's really adult puppetry, and it's really viewpoint and making like the audience grow their viewpoints about like even society, and
absolutely,
I agree with this definition. It's deep and it's cool.
Yeah. No, and I think it's helpful for people to think about, what the potential of that thing is. It's really easy for us, and I've said it even in this interview, oh, you're just wiggling dolls, and it's like, well, no, it's so much more than that, and we need to have that level of respect and admiration for our art form, because if we don't have that kind of that reverence for it and that love for it, then I don't know why we would expect any other member of the audience to have that same level of love for it.
Yeah, we set the example as the puppeteer who manipulate. That's so true.
Exactly.
I agree totally. And I want to know if you feel, and you have also the podcast viewpoint, do you feel our art is in an ascension right now?
I would like to think so. It's Adam and I talk about this a lot. It's hard when you are we're kind of in our little echo chambers, right? Because all of our social media feeds are constantly puppet things. And it's funny, like when if there's ever big news in the Muppet world, something, I always ask a family member who doesn't have the same kind of social media feed that I do, of like, has this news made its way into your normal into the Muggle news type thing? But no, I think it is. It's funny. I have this this theory that just about every Broadway show that I've seen, that comes to town on tour, anything that's been written in the last 20 years or so, I feel like in some way references The Lion King, either visually or they make a joke about it. And I'm talking like, not just something like Shrek, but Willy Wonka has a reference to it. Mean Girls has some great things that kind of point that way. I'm convinced even that the Hamilton staircase has this, kind of Pride Rock feel to it. And I think there are so many instances where you see puppets in these spaces, and people seem to really respond to it. So I hope that means that we're connecting with a broader audience. I think that's the only way that we're going to continue.
Yes, we need to grow and conquer. Like as we conquer, like you said, a bit of Broadway, a bit of, and we keep putting the art forward. there.
Yeah. Well, and we had Mervyn Miller on our show last spring, and he wrote this really wonderful book, Puppetry and How to Do It. I had to just check the title. And he made this really great point about it, that everybody can sing. You might be a bad singer, but any little kid or anyone in their car or their shower or whatever is gonna la ti da to their favorite music. And no one ever thinks of that, like they shouldn't be doing that because they're not excellent at it. And he says puppeteers have to have that same, they have to give people that same level of permission to put a sock on their hand or to move their pencil in a way that kind of tells a story. And it might not be great, it might not be excellent, but as long as they're doing it, then they're thinking about the art form, and they'll be more receptive and able to kind of determine what is good puppetry and what's the stuff that people should be focusing on.
Yes, it's building the criticism vision.
Exactly.
Or it's building
exactly. It's training your eye to know, oh, okay, that's the good stuff, that's the not so good stuff, that's the stuff that I really admire and I want to learn more about.
Yeah, so cool. I like this vision of the ascension also, and to see that. I want to ask also the full potential, like your vision of like the full potential of the puppetry, or like the golden age of puppetry. You feel we have something we will reach? Do you feel we reach it? Do you feel you have like something in the future?
It obviously would be great if everybody had a full comprehension of puppet history, and and did. But something that I really like about the times that we're living in, is that if for early 2000s and stuff, is CG imagery was coming into the fold and becoming a thing. There is that great fear in the puppetry and the special effects world, right? Of like, oh my gosh, they're going to take all our jobs. And for a number of years, the visual effects got better and better and better. But you still, like, if you watch the first Harry Potter movie that, in 2001, we were all like, this is amazing, right? You watch that 20 years later and it's like, oh no, that's not really great. But why does Jurassic Park hold up? And it's like, the things were real, they were there. And I think that's something that I really like about things like what the new Star Wars films are doing, or Where the Wild Things Are, or there's so many great examples of merging the puppetry effects and what the puppets do best, and marrying that with the the excellent opportunities that there are in the world of computer graphics and stuff. And I think the more that we allow the puppetry community to be open and accepting of these other art forms that could help enhance it and bolster it, that's again going to continue that ascension upwards.
Yeah, we want the real thing in front of us, like the real puppet. And
absolutely.
Adam just mentioned like you have done a TED talk.
Yeah, and it's funny. That's exactly what we're talking about. Back in 2013, I did a TED talk for TEDx Buffalo, and it was called The Power of Puppetry, and it was talking just about this, about how what I love about puppets is that that fantasy that exists with us in the real world. The example that I use is, if for instance, if there's a new Toy Story movie that comes out, and we've had a whole bunch of those, when Tom Hanks, or when Disney promotes the movie on the Today Show, Tom Hanks shows up. They don't have Woody show up. And if they did, everyone would be like, oh, okay, that's kind of cute. But they've been working on that interview for 10 months because they had to render it and animate it and all those things and script it. But when, Kermit comes on the show to, promote the new thing on Disney Plus, he's just there. or he would be if there wasn't a pandemic. And so there's something really wonderful and tangible about puppets in the real world. And I really genuinely think, and I'm not just saying this, that you're able to, you could tell that when a character like Rey in Star Wars is interacting with the real thing, or Luke is really sitting and talking with the Yoda puppet. There's something that you can't describe, but you know it when you see it, when there is that true contact with the physical object being brought to life.
That's so real, and it's real. The real world is the real thing.
Exactly.
I love this. I want to ask you before I take, like, we have Laurie who asked a question, but I want to ask you, what is your biggest purpose as a puppeteer?
I think, at least so far, I think something that I've always tried to do is be an ambassador puppetry to the world of people who don't know that much about it. Through things like my TED Talk, through our show Puppeteers, even my senior project when I was in my undergraduate program at Damon College was a puppetry festival, the Geppetto Festival, which was about it was not in sort of inward facing puppet festival like we're used to, that puppeteers come from all over the country or an area or the world and congregate together, but it's like bringing a couple puppeteers to an area and inviting that community to come and see and learn about puppetry. And I think the more people were able to get excited about it, again, it's going to raise that appreciation. And I think that's kind of something every puppeteer has to do it, right? Whether or not you're getting a grant or, you're trying to convince someone to come and see your show. But I feel like I've been doing that since I was, watching the Muppet Show as a kid in Sesame Street. It's like, yes, this is why I love it. Please understand and appreciate why you should love it too. And that's, I think, something that I have almost 30 years of doing that for people, but I think that's a place that I really, it's a self-imposed responsibility that I enjoy having through these opportunities of being able to get people excited about the art form.
True. We promote what we do, and we have to inspire. That's duty for sure. Exactly. I will bring the question of Laurie. It's a long text, but it's about your design also. When you design a puppet, do you let your imagination take over, or do you sort of rein back by keeping the build process in mind? Like, that's kind of a good question, Laurie.
It's a great question. I don't have to worry about that because Adam builds all my puppets. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not really, but no, it's, you definitely have to think about the logistics, and you do that when you're script writing too. As much as you want to, write rocket ships and, tap dancing numbers and a million puppets and all sorts of different things into your script, at the end of the day, you have to think about the logistics of how are we going to accomplish this thing. I will say, when I'm thinking about puppet designs for something that I'm going to build, or even that, I'm going to say, hey, Adam, can you help me out with this? I am thinking about that practicality and how it can be done. And I don't really like over designing things too much. I think some of the strongest designs are the simplest. That's why I love all those early Sesame Street designs, where it's a color of fur and a nose, and two very black and white eyes, and they're gorgeous designs. And something I kind of point to people, like, look at what a duck or a cow looks like on Sesame Street versus a duck or a cow on the Muppet Show. They're coming out of the same workshop, but there's something simpler and more reduced in the Sesame Street design than often on the Muppet Show designs. And I think even that is a really beautiful thing. So I really like to pare down things. And I also just want to say to Lori Everett specifically, I have your email in my inbox. I have not responding to you. I just haven't gotten to it yet. I am sorry. I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. I feel bad that I've been neglecting that.
Oh, but it's good. It's the place to speak and handle
Exactly.
We are live.
I saw her name. I was like, oh no, is there a question? Why haven't you responded back to my email?
Yeah. But
sorry.
yeah, that's great. And true, the less is more. The expression is also can be applied to puppetry. That's also a good thing. I want to know, like, for the last question is, where do you see puppetry in 10 years?
Oh gosh. I don't know. It's a tough one. I'm so bad at that kind of thing.
To be visionary.
Or any of us. I just get so focused and bogged down by the current moment sometimes. I don't know. I would like to think that there will be opportunities for seeing more puppets in shows and television. I realize there have been a lot of new Muppet series in our time, but I think there's a lot of promise in the new Muppets Now show, and I think what's the expression? High tide raises all ships, and I think the more work that is put out, the more people and other puppeteers will get more work. There's new stuff coming out. Helpsters, for my money, is the best new puppet show we've gotten in a long time. Elmo's Not Too Late show, and I realize these are all kind of Sesame or Muppet properties, but even what they're doing with the Fred Rogers Company with the new show there, and there's just a lot of really great projects, and I hope, again, the more that people see that, the more it will elevate other puppeteers and other new voices to be able to create their own stuff.
That's so much a good, philanthropic statement. That's so good. Yeah. We wish that for the future. And I want to maybe see and bring you to the screen some puppets. Do you have one ready on the side?
I do. Actually, it's a marionette that I built last summer with some of Adam's help, as well as I finished it up at the O'Neill Puppetry Conference with help from people like John Little and Kurt Hunter.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh wow.
But it's this little bit of fur. There's some hooping in there. It's a simple marionette. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 strings to it, so it's fairly simple. But what was cool about the performance that I did with it is that it was actually her and I were dancing together, and there were some really great. I'm a little out of practice with it, but there's some really wonderful movements and stuff that she could do. These really elegant things with little dip and some other things, just by moving a few little things, gravity takes hold and is able to do some great stuff. And
I want just to bring you the full screen, just people could see.
Oh, sure. Great.
Yes. Okay, so just a second, I remove my.
So yeah, and what's cool about it, I'll get a little closer to the camera too, is that it's really just that styrofoam head that we paper machéed, nice and simple. It's just some Muppet fur that we got from Puppet Pelts, some dowels for the hands, and what was kind of an ingenious thing that Kurt and John will help me out with was this dowel up here on the controls, which allow the hands to kind of be out at this sort of wider neutral. because otherwise they would be like right under the nose because of how gravity and the control works. So yeah, really happy with it. And
So cute.
yeah, it was a
She
nice
dance?
little...
She don't talk? Does she talk?
No, I was actually the piece that she was for, I was singing to her.
Oh wow.
It was a little like I said, song and dance number. It was terrifying to do because I don't usually sing as a human, but the story called for it. So you do what you do.
Yeah, you have to do what the puppets brings you.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Cameron.
Absolutely. Thank you. This was really great.
Yeah, I get a blast to just chat with you and about podcasting. So if people want to see more of your work, or where they can find it?
So all of my work can be found at either camgarrity.com. I'm on all the social media things as at Cam Garrity. And then our podcast is Puppeteers podcast. You could go to puppeteers.com. We have some really big things coming up to help support the Puppeteers of America that we're going to be doing this fall that we're really excited for. So keep an eye out for that. And all the social media for that is Puppeteers at Puppeteers Pod on any of the social media things.
Thank you so much. So we will write down below all of this. And yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time and your passion, and keep spreading the puppet power around.
Same to you. Yeah, yes. We got to stick together.
Yeah. So stay there. I will just do the conclusion and we could talk after. Yeah. Sure. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. It was again an amazing podcast. We are at 56. My God, so much great interview. And I want just to let you know again, we have this workshop coming on Friday night, tomorrow. It's tomorrow at 7. So for our Patreon members, feel free to just sign up. The link is in the description, and it's the Swazzle team. It's about the mouth palates, quality mouth palates. It will be so interesting. So ask questions, send us an email if you have any other question about the Patreon, our YouTube channel or projects. We are really welcome for a lot of new stuff. So everyone, I will wish you an amazing evening. Stay safe. And yeah, next week we have other episode of the Puppet Podcast. So stay tuned and let's share the good practice of puppetry. So have a good evening. See you. Learn how to get your first 1,000 YouTube subscribers. Join our Patreon page now. Link in the description.